listening to Game On DC, your home for local gaming and esports news in the DMV. Find the show on social media at Game On DC and by using the hashtag GoDC. Without further ado, here are your hosts, John and Joey.
What is up, DMV? Welcome to Game On DC, the show dedicated to you, the gamers and esport fanatics, right here in the East Coast capital of esports. My name is John Fiasco Bar. I'm joined by Joey Courtside King McDermott. Joey, it is a Monday. It was a long weekend. It was action-packed, tons of stuff going on here in the DMV. How are you feeling today?
I'm doing all right, John. It's a Monday. It's always a Monday for this show nowadays, though. So Mondays come, Mondays go, but this has been a great one. Not necessarily because of the Monday, but because of where it falls. We just had the DMV Triple Crown Summer Bash. We have playoffs action ahead for WizDG and the Justice. It's just a great time to be a DMV esports fan.
Absolutely. We're going to be touching on a lot of things today. We have two pro teams gearing up for the postseason. I mean, not every city in the U.S. can say that right now. Not every city can say you have two major esport teams and two major esport leagues gearing up for the postseason. It is really, really cool to be in the DMV right now with the Justice and WizDG gearing up for their playoff runs. But before we can even jump into that little housekeeping here for everyone, we need to make sure that everyone knows that the best place to experience Game On DC is live here on Twitch. That is twitch.tv/OTN Media, Monday nights, 8 p.m. And for any reason you can't make it, we do have a podcast version of the show that will be released the very next day on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, pretty much anywhere you can find a podcast feed. Look up Game On DC. We'll be there. All right, Joey. Oh, I don't have in the notes, but we should probably throw this in there too. I mean, you might as well follow us also. I mean, we're cool, right? I mean, you listen to the show.
I mean,
we're not too bad. I mean, Joey at Courtside King, myself at Fiasco. If you're here watching on Twitch, those names are right there in front of your face. If you are listening on the podcast, they'll be in the notes for you below. Definitely give us a follow as well as Game On DC a follow as well. All right, Joey, let's go ahead and kick things off. It is an outstanding time to be an esport fan and gamer in the DMV. We'll kick it off with one of the Triple Crown events here in the DMV, of course. I'm talking Summer Bash 21. Joey, once again, the Game Gym knocked it out of the park with the speakers they brought in. Everything from professionals in the esports world when it comes to, team organization, marketing, social media, to health experts. Once again, that's one of the big things the Game Gym hammers home. Super happy to hear them every single DMV event. Them bring in mental health experts and physical and physical experts, really doctors in these fields, to explain the importance of mental health, of physical health, of nutrition, even for gamers. It's such a beautiful message there, as well as exposing all the gamers, all the young people in the DMV to the different career paths within esports and gaming as well. And it was another fantastic event in terms of speakers once again.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially in that career path route. I mean, you had tournament organizers in here. You had professional coaches, digital content producers like Jake over there at the Washington Justice, player development. They pretty much touched just about everything. Oh, and BBXH, who we've had as a guest on Level Up, was also on there as a Twitch streamer as well. So pretty much everything you can think of from gaming to esports, whether it be a player, a coach, someone involved in the backside of it, the front office even. So lots of different variety coming out from the Game Gym at this event.
Lots of cool things there. It's all available on video on demand, aka VOD. So check out those VODs. It's on Twitch, twitch.tv/Game Gym Esports. Definitely check it out. 2 amazing days worth of great speakers. And Joey, it was a little bit smaller this year, but they still did have esport competitions going on. Mainly this year, it was focused on Smash. And of course, we know how big Smash is here in the DMV. I mean, yeah, in the large scale of things, Smash maybe isn't as popular as a League of Legends, as an Overwatch. But here in the DMV, it is a massive, massive community that we have here. And once again, it was a fantastic showing by all the great gamers in the Smash scene here in the DMV. And Joey, the grand finals came down to ZD and AOS. AOS came up from the lower bracket, had a great run. ZD just was too much to handle this time going around. In the grand finals, takes down AOS 3-1. A big win for ZD there in the Summer Bash.
Yeah, and congratulations to both of them getting there. I mean, again, you're raising money for a great cause playing, but also it's a good time to kind of hone your own skills, show what you're really made of in the Smash scene, and such a good Smash scene in the area, like John mentioned. So really big congratulations, ZD, obviously the winner. AOS making it all the way as well, and to all the competitors who participated.
And Joe, you mentioned it. Everything that is done in the DMV Triple Crown is done for a good cause, is done for charity, and it's done for the Children's National Hospital, an absolutely fantastic organization that, you know, Joey, we are honored enough to be a part of the DMV Triple Crown, and it is always an honor to help raise money, give our time to this amazing event to help raise money for the Children's National Hospital. And Joey, the numbers are still coming in, but it sounds like they have raised just under $10,000 for the Children's National Hospital in this 2-day event. That's absolutely huge. I should have done this before we hopped on. I should have totaled it up for the last several events. I feel like we should have a running total here of how much money they have been able to raise, because it's absolutely fantastic, whether it's directly for the Children's National Hospital through the Extra Life Foundation. Game Gym just really doing great work out there and helping raise money for such an amazing cause like the Children's National Hospital.
Someone put out that tweet, and you guys can go follow at Game Gym Esports on Twitter. I think it was the Game Gym account. It might have been Josh's account, but they did recently put out a tweet. It might have been yesterday, it might have been the day before, but it is quite a nice lump sum that they've brought together through Extra Life for Children's National. So really good stuff happening with these Triple Crown events, continuing to raise great money, continuing to give competitors a scene to participate in. And like we said earlier with the panels, you're bringing in so many different voices throughout the games industry as well as the health industry as well. Showing people, showing parents, showing players, different aspects of the scene and how gaming can benefit one another.
Absolutely. So the Summer Bash wrapped up this past week, and I do believe, correct me if I'm wrong here, Joey, the next one is the Winter Games, correct? Yes, the
Winter Games. I don't think there's an official date yet, but typically it's right around early December.
Absolutely. So it's going to be absolutely fantastic there. Definitely follow Game Gym Esports on Twitter and Instagram and pretty much all their social media, even on Twitch, for more updates in regards to those DMV Triple Crown events as well. Super excited to be covering those events. And again, so we're really excited here at OTN to be a part of the DMV Triple Crown in any way possible. It's been an absolute honor helping them out for the past several years in those events as well. So super excited for what the winter will bring. But Joey, we're going to go ahead and flip the page here real quick, because we do have two teams that we must touch on. Two teams that are playoff bound. I want to start with the first team, the Washington Justice of the Overwatch League. Joey, before we dive into the playoffs, you know, when the show came back, we kind of gave a first half recap. We're not going to touch on the first half. We'll do a brief overview, just very brief here on the second half, mainly the Summer Showdown and the Countdown Cup for the Washington Justice. You know, it's one of those things where what you saw in the first half continued to plague the Justice in the second half. We still saw a lot of struggles on Escort and hybrid maps. It feels like it's, you know, I don't want to beat a dead horse here, but it is something that the team even mentioned on the post-game interviews on those co-streams that we had the honor to do, that was something that they needed to work on. And it was something that they continue to struggle in the second half of the season as well. Now looking forward to the postseason, they're not part of the automatic qualifiers. Unfortunately, the top three teams in the Western Conference are automatically locked in. Everybody else is going to have to try to go in through the play-ins. It's going to be a long road. There's a lot of great teams that the Justice could possibly go up against to try to make it to the postseason. And again, on paper, this is a Justice team that a lot of people had penciled in a top 3 spot at the beginning of the season. Those issues on hybrid and on Escort came back to really bite them in the end. It was really hard to close out some of these series against your upper echelon teams like the Dallas Fuel, the Gladiators, the Reign, the Shock, the Outlaw, you know, teams that, you know, obviously performed a little bit better in the standings and overall through the season. Now going into the postseason here a bit, Joey, I mean, how can we as a fan group, how can we as a community help cheer these guys on? Because obviously we know that it's a struggle. They have to be able to get over it, and if they want to make it to the postseason. How can we as a fan group really help our boys make it into the postseason through the play-ins.
I mean, cheer them on, encourage them, guys. If you're on Twitter, that's one of the nice things about esports is so many players are active on Twitter. I mean, the Justice aren't overly active. They're not out there like a ton, like a Cloud9 League or League of Legends player, like a Perks, who's always on there kind of smack talking. At the same point, they do see those messages of encouragement, whether it be on social media, whether it be on different streams that they appear on. They do look at that stuff. So any kind of encouragement there is a great way to start. On top of it, John, you hit on it. It felt like escort maps. It felt like hybrid maps, and the escort portion of hybrid maps in particular seemed to be the Achilles heel for this Justice squad. The other thing was the bans. Every single time we had hero bans come out for the league, they seemed to struggle trying to adapt. It usually was one bad weekend where they really could not get the new meta under their hand, and then they started looking really strong afterwards. Now going into playoffs, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think there's any bans that they have to deal with moving forward, at least to my knowledge.
Correct.
Okay, that is correct. So that's a big advantage right now coming in as Justice fans. We know that. We've seen them struggle multiple times throughout the season with those bans. Now having, in a sense, that comfort of knowing they're not there. Now, unfortunately, we can't get rid of escort maps. We can't get rid of hybrid maps. So that is something the team itself is still going to have to work on. The players are going to have to work out different strategies for it. They got better throughout the season. They were pushing the payload farther and farther. They were defending better and better. Unfortunately, it just didn't all click prior to one of these playoff tournaments or one of these mid-season tournaments, in a sense, like the June Joust, Summer Countdown, or Summer Smackdown? What's the summer one? Showdown. Showdown.
Summer Smackdown, I like it. It's just smack people
All
down.
these new
like
tournaments we added this
it.
season. It's the Countdown Cup, the Summer Showdown. Summer Smackdown, I think, would be great. WWE might have a copyright on that one, though. But in the end, yes, it did come together. It started to come together, not all the way it needed to, though. But as we head to playoffs, as we head to play-ins, hopefully some of those things have been corrected.
Absolutely. And Joey, let's just go ahead and go on record that if they are going to have bans of anything, it should be map bans. And I think I speak for everyone when I say Junkertown, Rialto, and Havana all need to be thrown out the window. I don't want
at least the first two. At least the first two. I don't think we won a single one on either one of those maps throughout the season.
Junkertown, you could see how much they were trying, but I can't remember a single time that cart actually made it out of the village portion on Junkertown, and it was so upsetting to watch how hard they were playing, how hard they were fighting, and just they couldn't get that cart to push. It was just saying, I hate Junkertown. I don't want that map selected anywhere. And the other thing too, Joey, what happened? What did Overwatch League do? Like, did they decide they don't like the Justice? Why in the world in the second half did they put Escort and Hybrid back to back?
I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think they were always back to back, but they did move.
Yes.
I want to say they were like map 3 and 4, but then they became map 2 and 3. Which, yeah, then it puts us at a disadvantage. So we typically win the control map, nice, out to a 1-0 start. And then as the Justice feeling good, you hit both those, and it's like, okay, maybe we come out 2-1, maybe we come out 1-2, and then we have that disadvantage moving forward. Unfortunately, some of those not going our way, a number of them not going our way, especially on Junkertown and Rialto, but it's a new start, John. It is fresh, it's been cleaned, we're ready to flip it once again on those map types as we head into play-ins.
Play-ins begin on September 4th for the Justice. Opponent is TBD at the moment. We will keep an eye out for that. There is still a full another week before all that will get set up. So we'll have more video on next week's edition of Game On DC, hopefully with an opponent that we can kind of preview for that matchup. But again, just a quick recap here. The play-in stage, the top 3 teams in the West, that's the Fuel, Gladiators, and Reign, have qualified for the postseason. They are sitting pretty. They don't have to do anything for a while. 4 through 9, based on league points, which if you're looking at your screen, you can see the point totals there. The Justice have 9, currently sitting in 6th place in the West. They will take place in the play that go through the 4th and 5th of September for the right to play in the postseason. Once we do get to the postseason, the 3 teams that have already qualified, they essentially get their pick. They can pick whoever they want to play of who's left to be qualified, who've qualified for the playoffs, and that slaughter begins. We'll see teams start dropping left and right because Dallas is going to pick the easiest matchup. They're going to pick whoever they feel like they can absolutely just raffle stomp in the first 3 maps. They want a smooth sail. The Gladiators are going to pick the second easiest, and the Reign are going to pick the third easiest. Now, let's be real here. But let's say the Justice get through. They took down the Gladiators. They put up a good fight against the Fuel and the Reign. I feel like there's a very good chance here that if the Justice can qualify, they might be a sleeper 2 years in a row.
Oh yeah, and they ran. I think they were a 12th seed last year, and just pretty much ran the table all the way to the Final Four of their particular region. So they're a scary team if they can get going, especially knowing Decay. We've seen him flex over to Zarya before. He played it very well. This time on that signature tracer, assuming we don't see ban system getting added at the last minute. In the end, though, looking forward to their play-ins rather, John. I think it's going to be Paris or Boston, the way I'm understanding this on the standings. Of those two teams, Paris is currently ranked number 8, Boston ranked number 9. Boston at a -4 map differential, Paris at a 0. Based on the way we played them throughout the season as well, it felt like the Justice had a better grasp on what Boston brought to the table. So assuming the Justice do end up in that higher seed as the number 6 and Toronto sits in that 7th, I do think we probably see the Justice select Boston here moving forward.
Absolutely. So again, once we have that specific matchup for the Justice next week, we'll definitely bring you a match preview and breakdown of that and what it's gonna look like for the Justice going forward. Joey, but again, we do have one other team that is in the postseason. They are the defending champions of the NBA 2K League. Of course, I am talking about Wizards District Gaming. Joey, I mean, this season has been historical in multiple ways for WizDG. They are the first team in NBA 2K League history to have won a championship and qualified for the playoffs the very next year. Let that sink in. Yes, I get it. The league is only 4 years old. But the season 1 champs couldn't do it in season 2. The season 2 champs couldn't do it in season 3 champs. Wizards District Gaming did it in season 4. A lot of people are expecting them to repeat. That's a lot of pressure. They've been talking all season long about how they have that target on their back. They're of it. But Joey, as I bring up the standings here, you can see they have a 22-6 record. They did not let the pressure get to them one bit. Yeah, it was a little bit of a rocky start in the beginning. Back in week 3, they had to make a roster change to the starting 5. But from then, after that change, they went on a 9-game win streak. They just absolutely tore the league up. They finished 22-6. Joey, they clinched to play. And that last game of the season, they all picked different positions to play. Dayfry played point guard and had a double-double. Let that sink in. That's how good Dayfry. Poor JBM. He played the 4 spot. He got 2 points. It was a struggle. But JBM was a good sport about it. But the funny thing is, they almost won that game. And it was absolutely ridiculous against the Sixers. But if you haven't seen it, check out the VOD. If you're local, the easiest way to do it is everyone within a 75-mile region of DC itself can access the VOD free of charge. I'd find it on the NBA 2K League site just because they jump around the game so much. But it was absolutely fun. But, you know, they're going into the playoff. They're defending champs. It's being played in Dallas. So far, it's still been announced in front of the audience. We'll see if that stands. Obviously, with the continuing surge of the Delta variant for COVID, that is something that we're going to have to keep an eye on as well. We saw League of Legends cancel their NN in New Jersey because of that same reason. So we'll if it may just be in person for players, no fans only. Coming up, start this week. So I would imagine that a decision is being made sooner or later. But Joey, I mean, going into the DG, there's a lot on the table for him. And I mean, I think I speak for everyone here in the DMV. I think we're all XP.
And I mean, I've honestly, and I think you have as well, been expecting that since the last season ended, to be honest. I mean, once that draft happened, once they ended up returning the heavy majority of their players, it's like your championship team almost performed very high when they had those opportunities. Now you're coming back, you're bringing the same roster back, you're bringing that same experience. Pat, as the coach, already knows the players. They've already started to build that bond. Sure, you add a new one here, but in the end, for the most part, it is the same squad coming back. Squad that ran the table last year. Coming into this season, they have that confidence. They showed us they can get the job done. To a couple little hiccups here and there, like the recent tournament where there were bans introduced. For some reason, it just hasn't worked out too well this season. But now heading into the final bracket, you've said it, Dayfry is an MVP, both on and off the court. He gets the job done as the center. He scores points. He rebounds. Has such a strong leadership presence as well. Really good stuff over there. Coming in as the #1 overall player. Just got the job done last season and getting it done here as well. Every single player on that team is a huge point, though. When it comes down to it, everyone can perform when they need. Seen it really all season long in different games where it's come out. Maybe Dave Fry's not getting as many rebounds here. Someone steps up. Maybe it's Nudini. Maybe it's just from the lock. In the end, they always find a way to get it done, and that's what makes a championship team. Going into this, I think they get it done again. Like we confident coming into the season. They still feel confident now. 22-6 record is the best in the league, and I think they carry that through playoffs.
Oh, absolutely. And you mentioned it is a really a five-headed monster. The starting five you put on there. If you focus on one player and you try to, quote, shut them down, another player steps up. You know, JBM is not going to drop 30-plus points every single game. He's not going to drop 20-plus points every single game. Nudini's not going to drop 20-plus points every single game. Just Awkward had an amazing game. I'm blanking on who it was against, but he had a fourth quarter like I've never seen in the NBA 2K League. Not only did he have several crucial turnovers to start the fourth quarter out, but he ended up with, I believe it was over 30 points. He fourth quarter with like 10, and he just finished with over 30. Absolute beast. Literally, pick your poison. They focused on everybody else, and Awkward popped off. It was absolutely fantastic. In my opinion, defensive player of the year. The man averages over 2 per game. And a lot of times it's more than 2 steals. I mean, WizDG has defense in the league. Points per game, they hold their opponents to the least amount. They force a ton of turnovers as a team. We're talking 8, 9, 10 plus per game. Even ones that may not count in the stat column, forcing a shot clock violation, forcing a bad. I mean, the defense from WizDG is literally what helping them take down some of these big teams. Chalk on the Nets. I mean, this guy is literally or second top scorer per game in the entire. At one point, he was averaging almost 40 points per game. In the games against WizDG, him to under 30. Yeah, he still got to mid 20s, but when you consider this guy's averaging 38, 39, 40 points, that's pretty good. Same thing with Warriors. CB13 held him back. I mean, this team is able to play defense, and a lot of people complain about the NBA, how there is defense in the NBA. It feels like, well, in the NBA 2K League, WizDG is the defense, and none of these teams in the league have really figured out a way to stop it. They can't break the press, or whether it's a half-court press, or whether it's just a 2-3 zone, or whatever they throw at them. No team has been able to do it successfully, except times, really, I'm just going to say 5, because that last game, it's kind of a throwaway. 5 times found a way to beat WizDG. And I'm sorry, in my book, in this best-of-3 series in the postseason, that is heavily in favor of WizDG. It's going to be perfect, but in a best-of-3, definitely.
Even in those 5 games, like they weren't necessarily all blowouts. A lot of those games were as well. So in the end, WizDG, even if they're being beat technically in the game, they're not a ton of points outside of a couple here and there. Yeah.
And, it's just one of those things where it's like, this team finds ways to win. And that's championship mentality. If shooting from behind the arc's not working, they have no problem running it through the lane. They have no problem bringing it to the paint. They have no problem forcing the defense to change to their pace of play. Something JBM has talked about quite a bit is we want the other team to react to us. We react to them. We want to set the tempo. If we want to run it fast, we're going to run it down their throat. If we slow, we're going to slow them down to our tempo and force them into making mistakes. And they know exactly. And again, kudos to the head coach, Pat Crossan, and big kudos to the players for executing that game plan almost flawlessly this entire season. Is they know what every team's strength is. They know what kind of style of offense they run, exactly what kind of archetype those other players are running. Yes, there is a meta, if you will, but there's a lot of players that don't play on that league meta. They do their research. They have film right before all their games, after all their games, throughout the week leading up to it. These guys prep like I've never seen any other 2K League prep before. I'm not saying that the teams don't prep. They're super dedicated to that film, to that study, and it pays on the court, and you can see it. 22-6? That's insane.
And a lot of that is film, but let's not discount the talent here as well. I mean, there is just, compared to every other roster, no one else is really bringing the power that WizDG is right now, just because everyone can get the job done every single given game. Dave Fry, super consistent. JBM, super consistent. And for the most part, everyone on the team is. But when certain players get shut down, when eventually a good lock comes through, like you said, Just Awkward can step up. Nudini can step up. everyone on this team in one game or another has pretty much shown that they can make their job count. They can get the job done for the rest of the squad when it needs to be done. You said earlier, that's what makes a championship team. That's what hopefully we're going to see throughout playoffs as well.
All right, so we do have the on the screen here for you as we are about to wrap up this last segment here on GoDC for today on the 23rd of August. As you can see, WizDG one overall seed here in the East. You have the Nets GC, and Sixers GC as well. 4 and 5 seeds. They will be playing their matches. All this starts on the 26th, by the way. So if you want to pay attention to the postseason for the 2K League, it starts on the 26th. Then you have Grizz Gaming and Knicks Gaming. The Knicks won the the ticket tournament for the Eastern Conference. So they are the 6th and final seed for the Eastern side here of the playoffs. Same thing with Blazer 5 Gaming on the Western side. They're the final seed there. The Knicks did take down the Blazers to win the ticket. So they got the last piece of the banner chain. The Knicks. So it's kind of cool. I mean, it's money in their pocket. Why not? But now going into the playoffs, WizDG will play the remaining lowest seed. So Joe, let's go and make predictions here. Let's start with the Nets and the Sixers. Who's going to win that series? We don't have to guess if it's like 2-1 or anything like that. Who wins that series first?
I think Nets.
Nets do? Okay. You know what? I'm going to say the Nets do too. I'll go and say I honestly think this one might be one of the closer ones. The Sixers towards the end of the season started coming online. They started playing a lot better. WizDG blowing teams out in the third quarter. They kept it close. WizDG really had to play well in that fourth and final quarter of game 1 to end the regular season back and to really seal out that win in game 1 and seal that number 1 seed and lock them in there. So they could do what they called it, the last day of school lineup, which it was hysterical. But the Sixers are starting to come on, and I wouldn't count them out. I do think, I'll say it. I think it goes 3 games. Anyway, I said we're not going to do that, but I did it anyway. But I do think the Nets will probably end up taking it, but I wouldn't count the Sixers out. Jumping down, Grizz and Knicks Gaming. Who takes that one, Joey?
Honestly, this is the one I think that's going to be the tough.
Mm-hmm.
Like coming in, I feel like the Grizz are the strongest team, but I mean, you look at the Knicks, they just did very well in that last tournament. They've come alive. I mean, this is a Knicks team that has historically done pretty decent. So my brain is telling me Grizz, but I think I'm going to pick the Knicks here.
Correct. I think you're 100%. I honestly think the Knicks are probably the biggest underdog in this Eastern side. They have to be. They are playing very, very well. I think Grizz Gaming might be in trouble here. If those results stand, it's going to be Knicks going up against WizDG as they are the lowest seed remaining. And then the Nets would be it's Venom in the next round or the first round, if you will. Or second round. I think it counts as a second round. So in the second round, and WizDG played Knicks Gaming incredibly well all year long. I fully expect that to be a win for WizDG, punching their ticket into the Eastern Conference Final. I'll be completely honest. I don't see a team in here than other than maybe the Nets causing some issues for WizDG. But again, the key to beating the Nets at one point in time, Joey, actually the day they met in the regular season, the Nets and WizDG, the Nets committed the most turnovers at that time and then proceeded to have double-digit turnovers in each of their games against WizDG. Like, it doesn't matter if you drop 40 points, Chalk. I hate to tell you this. It doesn't matter. Turn the ball over, 6-7 times yourself, and your team does it another 5, 6, 7 times, you're not going to win. Turnovers will absolutely destroy really good teams. What happened with the Nets all season long is when they're able to control the ball, they win. When they're sloppy with it and they turn it over, if Chalk drops 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 or 60, it's not going to help. You're not going to win. Being the great defensive team that they are, just awkward, leading the way in turnovers, forcing the other team into crucial late game turnovers. Really, I think WizDG easily punches their ticket into the finals here. But we don't have to predict any farther because there is going to be a in between those two.
I mean, I'm just going to say, if Chalk is going to drop 60 points a game, I don't know if I'm feeling as confident you are over there.
I'm feeling confident because I'm going to be honest, right? Chalk is the offense for the Nets. I mean, it is what it is. Like, he is your stereotypical, like remember Iverson was playing? Like, the scoring for the Sixers went through AI. Like, that led the offense. Like, if he passed you the ball, 1, you're honored. 2, you better make the shot. Otherwise, you're passing the ball back to AI, and he's taking the shot or he's driving it to the rim. Kind of the style of offense we're seeing from the Nets. And it works. Don't get me wrong. But if he drops 60 points and the rest of his supporting team there is maybe only getting 3, 4, 5 points here and there, JB 30, Dayfry gets me 20, Nudini gets me 12 to 15, Awkward gets me 8 to 15, and then you have B, who, let's talk about B-Rich real quick. The sixth man in quotes, he was the sixth man last year on the championship team. Pat Croft about what he brought to that team as the sixth man last year. Now he has a chance to be on the starting 5, making the most out of it. Dropped a career high 19 points, and he's averaging 13.5 points per game in the regular season since he started in the lineup in the second game, back 3 against the Warriors. B-Rich is absolutely killing it. You give me another 15 points there, Joey, that's still a dub. That's still a win for WizDG. So, I mean, it's really, again, pick your poison. WizDG is just so good. They're stacked. It's almost unfair. They are Joey. They're the Monstars.
You took this so much more seriously than I was expecting you to. But yeah, in the end, I was more making a joke than anything.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, I mean, you said he is just so good defensively. So even if you do have a star player like Chalk, I doubt he's going to even get close to putting up 60 points. Sure, he's great, but up against someone like a Just Awkward, up against the team can shut those star players down. I mean, you mentioned who was a CB13 they shut down. I think they've shut before as well, haven't they, throughout the season?
They have.
So they've been here. They've done that. If it's the Nets, they're going to be fine. There are teams in here that can make noise. The Nets are one of those teams. Knicks, again. The Knicks, for some reason, get this like tournament buff thing going on. So they're one to kind of not quite count. And the other one on that side, I think, is the Hornets. The Hornets are a team that have shown that they can do pretty well in these tournaments as well. Now, again, I'm with you. I think PG wins this conference pretty handily. But it's one of those things like any given Sunday. Anything could happen in the end. I do predict the Wizards to move on as well, though.
Whew, Joy, I am super excited. It is going to be an absolutely stick weekend for WizDG. Super excited for that as well. So definitely pay attention if you're a DMV fan of WizDG. Cheer them on to make even more history as their quest to be the first team ever to go back-to-back continues, and it all starts this week on the 26th for the playoffs there as well. Next week for the Washington Justice, and we will, of course, recap everything or preview everything for the Justice next week, recap what happened with the Justice this weekend as well on next week's show. Joey, I'm super excited. Again, I said at the top of the show, say it again here at the end. It is such a great time to be an esports fan here in the DMV.
Absolutely. Both teams competing, both teams with great shots at the playoffs here. We'll see what they bring the weekend ahead.
All right, Joey, I'm sad it's coming to an end, but that is going to do it for this week's episode of Game on DC. If you do enjoy Game on DC, we would love to hear from you. Reviews, ratings are all a great way to do it. Podcatcher lets you leave a review, whether it's Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, or anything else. Please do. We would love to hear from you. We love to hear from our entire DMV community. So there are multiple ways for you to reach out to us. Joey, what are some of those ways?
Absolutely. GoDC community. Check out Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram and find us at Game on DC. In addition to that, we also check the hashtag GoDC, so you can tweet using that one as well. Last but not least, follow the OT Media channels as well on YouTube and Twitch. Twitch.tv for Media, and over on YouTube, just give a nice search for OT Media and you'll see it pop up as well.
All right, make sure you are following here on Twitch, following on YouTube as well, so you can catch all the amazing content there. And make sure you tune in next Monday, August 30th, as we continue to cover the esports news here in the DMV. Make sure you do your ears and eyes a favor, hit that sub and follow button to know when the next episode of Game on DC is ready for your viewing and listening pleasures. We will see you all on Monday. Enjoy the rest of your week. Cheer our teams on to victory. And as always,
Game on DC.